let's go into our mock draft here. So this is going to be, like I said, this is going to be a thing we're going to start doing. We're doing one a month here for you guys. And we did it with no trades this time. And not because we didn't want to, but because there was no trades that make sense. We had who we wanted at pick 3 overall available. I'm going to say that point blank. We had the spots lined up to where we're going to be. So future ones we may have trades, but we didn't do it this time. So first off, in our mock draft here, listen, we already see him in the picture. It's pretty obvious if you're watching on the video. Pick number 3 is going to be Shedeur Sanders, quarterback, Colorado. Now, for a lot of these guys, I'm going to go over stats with you guys, tell you a little about who they are. I don't think Shedeur Sanders needs any introduction whatsoever at this point, right? You know, and I'll say it. I've already said it twice in the show. I'll say it again. Is it a reach? 100%. But if you're going to reach, you reach at quarterback. It is the most important position on the field. You either have a quarterback or you don't. We don't have a quarterback. Let me be very clear to you on that. We do not have a quarterback. We are the have-nots right now. This is trying to make us the haves. So Shedeur Sanders comes in, pick number 3 overall. We run to the podium, point blank run, because there was a good chance that, like I said, those two guys could be gone. In this case, actually, both guys were there. I'll tell you that, guys, right now. Both guys were there. That mock draft actually started off the same way that Daniel Jeremiah's did, with Abdul Carter in 1, and number 2 was Travis Henry. And if I'm making the call, I'm probably going Cam Ward. But I think the Giants would take Shedeur Sanders. And I'm okay with that. Because if that's who they want and that's who they feel confident, go with it. Go with it 100%, guys. Because it's your job on the line. I want no excuses. So, all righty, guys. Pick number 2 here. Round 2.
Round 2.
Pick 34 is Armand Membou, offensive tackle out of Missouri, 6'3", 314 pounds, just years old, guys. That's about as young as it gets. You're not going to find an 18-year-old coming into the NFL draft. They're way too young. 12 starts this past season with a 90.4 PFF grade, guys. 35 college starts overall. And he saw a great mix of plays in college. This past season, 416 run plays and 410 pass plays. So, good mixture, 50-50 there. His stats, 0 sacks given up, 0 hits given up on the quarterback, and just 9 hurries overall. That's not too shabby. Pro Football Network says he's a powerful, athletic right tackle who brings a rare combination of strength and technique. A true standout at Missouri, he thrived against top-tier pass rushers, proving himself as one of the most battle-tested blockers in the country. His dominance in 2024 speaks for itself, making him a potential cornerstone of any offensive line. Now, I know, guys, some people will say, wait a minute, we got Jermaine Illuminor. You know what the beauty of having Jermaine Illuminor is? He can play anywhere.
He could go anywhere.
Listen, we'll find a spot for Jermaine Illuminor. Do not you worry. And the nice thing is, again, this kid's 20 years old. There is no need to force him into the starting lineup. You could let him sit for a year, and he's still 22 years old when the season starts, because he would be 21 before the season starts, I should say that. So he's still coming out a year or two younger than most people, where you can give a little time for him to develop. And he could be your swing tackle. So let's be honest, guys. Josh Zudu ain't cutting it.
Nope. Zudu equals doo-doo.
And we got to continue. Like I said, I don't want to say we have to fix the line. Like I hear a lot of people, you have to fix this line. You have to fix this line. No, you have to continue to fix the line. Because before all the injuries, guys, this was a better line. And I know that wasn't much of the season. People kind of forget what happened before Andrew Thomas went down, before everybody else got hurt again. We're on our 4th left tackle at this point of the season. This was an okay offensive line at that point. I want to say great. It was an okay offensive line for the first, 5 games of the season or so.
Yeah, well, what we ranked the highest 30 years? 16? 15?
Something like that. That's what I'm saying. Like
from 31.
Yeah. Now,
like that's an improvement.
Was the offensive line horrible at the end of the season? Hells yes. Hells yes. Once we got, pretty much every single player hurt. Think about that. I mean, you had Runyon was out. You had, Illuminor was hurt at certain points. Obviously Andrew Thomas missed most of the season. Evan Neal, even not that he's that great, but he still also got hurt now for a while there at that point. JMS got hurt.
Yeah.
Every single person got hurt basically. Except for Greg Van Roden. Kudos to you, Van Roden.
Yeah.
So he's a guy who can step in. If he shows up great, you can go, you know what? I'm going to move this guy to my right tackle position. I'm going to put Illuminor inside at guard, where he's also comfortable and can play. Or I say, you know what? He needs a little time. I don't want to put him out there and rush him. Let him sit for a year behind Illuminor. Illuminor's only got a 2-year deal. And I can plan for him to be the right tackle of the future. And let's see how he does this season and how he shows up in practice, see how he compares to Illuminor. You can't lose, guys.
No.
Can't lose. Next up, a third pick there, round 3. Pick 65. Steven was excited. Tate Ratledge, guard out of Georgia. 6'6", 320 pounds, 23 years old. Played almost exclusively at the right guard position. Now, Georgia also a little different than what we talked about a moment ago with Missouri. They were definitely much more of a passing team. So ran 189 run plays and 311 pass plays. So you got a good idea of what he can do as a pass blocker. And he allowed just 1 sack, 2 hits, and 4 hurries. That's not too shabby there. Pro Football Network said Ratledge is a top interior offensive lineman prospect for the 2025 NFL Draft, projected as a day 2 pick, known for his strength, powerful blocking, and mobility. Ratledge pairs his starting experience with reliable pass protection and run blocking skills, making him a ready contributor at the next level. Now, I know, guys, I said already that we're getting a right tackle. We could potentially move Illuminor into guard if we have to. Because you draft somebody doesn't mean they have to start right away.
No.
This is right back to what I said a minute ago.
We talked about this even prior. It's like just because you draft someone doesn't mean you need to start them right away.
No.
Some of the best players play the best after sitting in the NFL for a year.
Yep.
And then going in.
But at the same point, Greg Van Roten is a free agent. You have also going to Runyon, who's, let's be honest, overpaid. At the end of this year, you can get rid of him if need be as well. Like, you always need to be adding to the offensive line. And our offensive line has had so much issues because we've had no backups when the starters get injured. Here's a guy who can walk in and be your backup guard. Worst case scenario. Or he walks in and takes the job away from a veteran.
Yeah.
I have no problem with either scenario.
I was going to say, either way, he's really cheap and for either one of those roles.
Exactly. I have no problem with either one of those. And let's be honest, Georgia has a tendency to produce good players, guys. It's not like this is a guy coming from West Texas Christian Polytech University of Abilene. Like, he showed up in one of the toughest spots to show up in college football. Georgia doesn't get weeks off. It's SEC. And like I said, I think he's a good guy for us to go get because he's shown a lot of potential, and he's a guy that we can sit there and, like I said, we can go get him for not even for just for now, but for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And now we got depth, guys. Now we have 2 guys we're bringing in young that are depth, and not just depth, but guys who are going to potentially push for a starting job. And the offensive line, I will never say the word fix because I feel like that's like a curse to say as a Giant fan. But you bring in a quarterback, you bring in 2 guys to shore up this offensive line. And I think we're in a lot better position than we were pre this draft.
Yeah.
Be nice if it worked out this way, I'm just saying.
Probably won't, but it would be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice. Round 4, we got 2 picks this round here. So first pick 104. And we're moving on to defense, guys. Can't keep going offense, because the defense has got some big holes here, guys.
Oh, big ones.
So we've talked about this. We talked about this before the season even started. We said there was 2 major positions that are an issue for this Giants defense. The defensive line, I'm not talking about the edge rushers. I'm talking about the front 3, the 3-4, besides Dexter Lawrence. Like, Dexter Lawrence has got that nose tackle position. Just solid, set, done. Outside of him, nothing that special, guys. Nothing that you sit there and go, thank God we got this guy on the roster.
Yeah.
So we're going for a pick here. We're going for Alfred Collins, defensive tackle out of Texas. 6'5", 320 pounds, 23 years old. This past season, 16 games, 55 tackles, 1 sack, 6 tackles for loss, 7 passes deflected, 1 forced fumble, and 87.2 PFF grade overall. And that includes also an 85 run defense grade. I bring this up because what does everybody always complain about with the Giants this past season? Oh, we couldn't stop the run. Oh, we couldn't stop the run. Oh, we couldn't stop the run. I wanted to make sure that we got somebody here, guys, who can stop the run. And I wanted to make sure it was somebody who played well with Dexter Lawrence, because I'm not looking for a guy who's a nose tackle. We had that. We don't have much that we have.
Yeah.
And if you look at where he lined up last year at Texas, he lined up 299 snaps at the B gap. Now, for those who don't know what that is, the B gap is in between the guard and the tackle. He lined up 145 snaps at the A gap. That's between the guard and the center. So that's much more the spots like a Dexter Lawrence would move into. 129 over the tackle, and 19 snaps outside of the tackle, like an edge rusher kind of spot there. So he plays the spots that Dexter Lawrence doesn't. And he's a big body who stops the run and actually has shown some ability to push the pocket. He's not a guy who's got to the quarterback a lot, but he's definitely gotten a chance to get to the, push that pocket a little bit and help those edge rushers over at Texas there. So Pro Football Network says Collins is making waves his senior year, showing NFL potential beyond the stat sheet. At 6'6" and 320 with a projected 35-inch arm length, he has the physical tools to excel on the interior defensive line. While his production could improve, his ability to disrupt opposing offenses stands out. NFL teams will likely be drawn to his immense upside as they weigh his draft stock. So, yeah, again, guys, we're filling a need here.
Yeah.
Filling a need.
A big need, if you will.
Both literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
That's a big guy. 6'5", 320.
Yeah, it's a massive dude.
And, we always said, got to fix the trenches. We get the quarterback. We got a 320-pound guard. We got a 314-pound tackle, and now a 320-pound defensive tackle. We are stacking up the line here, guys. Building the trenches. So.
Yeah.
All right, next up. You got second of our round 4 picks. 134. Jared Ivey, edge, out of Ole Miss. Eli's alma mater here. 6'6", 285 pounds, 23 years old. Played the last 3 years at Ole Miss. Played 2 years prior to that over at Georgia Tech. This past season, 12 games, 42 tackles, 7 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, 3 passes deflected, 1 fumble recovery, and 2 forced fumble with a 90.6 PFF grade. Bleacher Report said about him, said overall Ivy can at least be a good 2-down player who is a starter during his rookie contract, especially as an even front defensive end. How much he'll be able to contribute as a pass rusher is questionable, but a team that already has a good pass rush specialist on the edge and is willing to work with him on the interior should be intrigued by Ivy's game. Well, besides the 3-4 part and 4-3 part, because let's be honest here, we are 3-4, but I think we could say we have a good pass rush specialist. And Brian Burns is being paid $30 million a year. You better be a good pass rush specialist.
You would hope so.
Yeah. And you got Azeez Ojulari. This is a guy that, let's say hypothetically, somebody gets hurt next year. If we re-sign Azeez Ojulari, you put this guy in, you put Ojulari in specifically on passing downs, and the two of them are a very good combo potentially here. Because we need depth at that position, guys. We don't have edge rushers. Right now we have Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Timon Fox.
Yay!
What does the Fox say? Not much.
Missed tackle.
Yeah. So here's a guy that, because I want to, like I said, I've said before, I want to get Azeez Ojulari back. I want him back in the building. Get him, get Ivy, and now you have two decent potential backup edge rushers. And if Ivy surprises you and develops into a good player, maybe you keep him long term, and Kayvon doesn't keep, doesn't progress or wants too much money. He's a replacement for him in a couple years. So,
Yeah.
like I said, I think it's a good pick overall. I think it's a guy that specializes more in the run stopping, which has been an issue again for the Giants. Trying to fix his issues. There's a lot of issues to fix.
So many.
Round 5. Pick 155. Raheem Sanders, running back out of South Carolina. 6 foot even, 230 pounds, 22 years old. This past season, 12 games, 183 carries for 881 yards, 11 touchdowns, 27 catches for 316 yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns, and 80.7 PFF grade. Now, this was his lone season in South Carolina. All right. And prior to that, he spent 21 to 23 in Arkansas, including having a 1,443-yard rushing season back in 22. Suffered a shoulder injury in 23 that required surgery. He was limited to just 62 carries. He had a knee injury that same year as well, said before that. So, like I said, he's had a little bit of a rough go after that major season. But I think you see the potential in him. 1,400 yards. I think most teams would take that from a running back.
100%.
So, and like I said, he's just getting back this season from those injuries and still showed up pretty well there for South Carolina. NFL Draft Buzz says, when you pop on the film, Sanders jumps out as an every down back, boasting a well-rounded skill set that's becoming a rarity in the college ranks. His vision, power, and burst put him in that elite conversation. But it's not just about the highlight reel. The kid's motor runs hot, and he's shown he can handle a workhorse load, crossing that 250 touch benchmark. Like I said, I think you need another guy to go along with Tyrone Tracy. I think Devin Singletary might be on the team this year because of cap reasons, but he's not the long-term answer. I think Eric Gray should work alongside Evan Neal at the local Burger King.
Yeah.
And, Dante Turbo Miller, let's be honest, y'all know I like Miller. I'm a big fan of Turbo. But when it boils down to it, he didn't get a chance to play this year. Now, we could sit there and say, like, why didn't you give a chance to play? But you can also, why didn't they give him a chance to play? Like, you can look at it from either angle. Like, this was a missed opportunity by the Giants, or Turbo didn't give them a reason to force that move. And I don't know which one it is. I don't have no way of knowing that, So we have to assume that either one is an option. And going into it with Devin Singletary and Tyrone Tracy, and that's it? Because I'm sorry, Eric Gray is a waste of a roster spot?
Yeah.
Then that's an issue. So I'd like us to get one in this kind of range, a 5th-round draft pick. Have we got a 5th-round running back before?
It works out pretty well.
Like I said, it doesn't have to be Sanders. I'm just giving him as an example. He was available. We know he's got that potential. We know when you're coming back after a big, injury season, sometimes you're not yourself quite that first season back. So I think he has the potential to have a huge boost now being his second year coming back from those injuries. Like I said, wasn't just a shoulder injury he had that required surgery. he had a knee injury that caused him to miss some times as well before that as well. So it was a rough season for him. And like I said, he was coming back for one last season, trying to rebuild some of that draft capital and draft stock there. And while it's good numbers he has, it's not great. So I think you're getting a guy pretty cheap at that point potentially that has that pop potential at that point. So, we'll see how that pans out there. All righty. Next up, we got 7th round picks coming, guys. And listen, I'm already anticipating we're going to get some poop for this, to put it nicely. We are. I think we're going to get some poop for this.
You might as well, though.
But before I go into who the next 2 players are, I'm just going to say this. They were both available. They're both going to help a certain other person we got in this draft. And why not? Round 7, pick number 221. Safety, Shedeur Sanders from Colorado. 6 foot even, 195 pounds. 24 years old, to be 25 in February. So he's definitely a little older side for being a rookie here in this league. Last year, Colorado, 10 games, 67 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 2 passes deflected, 2 fumble recoveries, including one of them for a touchdown, which actually was his 2nd year in a row with a touchdown. He had an interception return for a touchdown in 23. 1 forced fumble and a 68.3 PFF grade. Played also at Jackson State in 21 and 22. Played also in South Carolina in 19 and 20 as well. Pro Football Network said Shedeur Sanders is a Colorado safety looking to carve his own path to the 2025 NFL Draft. While he's shown strong instincts and ball skills, he lacks athleticism and size to be an early selection. At 6 foot even, 195 pounds, he'll need to prove his versatility, particularly on special teams, to secure an NFL opportunity. And this is where I expect him to be. I expect him to be a special teamer that you can potentially pop in on dime nickel positions. That's all I'm expecting out of this kid. Let me be very clear on this, because I feel like people hear the Sanders name. And yes, he is Deion's other kid at Colorado, for those who haven't figured that out. I'm not expecting Deion. I'm not. I'm expecting Dean Belton.
Yeah, that's fair.
And even that might be setting the bar a little high. It's a 7th round pick. How many 7th round picks don't even make it out of the rookie camp, or don't make it out of training camp?
A lot.
Look at Javarius Owens. Just say that he was in the practice squad. In 23, got cut before 24. He was a 7th round safety. You don't necessarily expect massive things out of those kind of guys. So if he's a guy that can be a smart player, that can make a contribution on special teams, and eventually be a guy who maybe does provide something on defense along with that, because me in defense, me and special teamers, I want guys who can actually pop on defense or offense too.
It's silly when you go a special position for just special teams. Like, you have to get this guy for your special teams, especially because you want your backups almost to be your special teamers, if you will, because you need them to be able to go into a game. It saves you roster spots down the road. If you're just literally taking everyone and having their own spot in special teams, it's kind of silly.
I think my problem, I think, is the fact that I still remember the Joe Judge days where he'd get 3 or 4 people just for special teams.
Yeah, PTSD there.
We had 2 or 3 fullbacks at one point. I'm like, stop this! What are you doing? You need offensive defensive players too. I think it's just made me a little.
It's how the football game. It's how the football game's won on special teams.
Yeah, apparently. But like I said, you get the second Sanders here, and then our second pick on the round 7, pick 250, wide receiver, Will Sheppard from Colorado. No lie, I'm looking at who's available in that last pick, and I'm like, you know what? We haven't got a receiver yet. And literally, there was 3 receivers that popped up. And when you're telling me we're going to get the 3rd overall pick, Shedeur Sanders, and we have the option to get one of his receivers in the 7th round like that, to give him some continuity, some kind of, familiarity Why would I take a different receiver from a different school that has the same skill levels as the guy he's already played with? It just doesn't make sense to me. So now you get one of his receivers and his brother on the team with him. I think that helps his comfort level. I think that gives him a support system that he's familiar with at that point, and I think that helps him. And I know people are going to hate say, "Oh, a support system, he's too soft." No, it's not that. Listen, that is a big mental, tough kind of thing to go through to become a starting quarterback in this league, especially in New York. Especially when you have that much more on your plate because your last name is Sanders. People can talk about the nepotism part all they want. And listen, the nepotism is real. It's there. He's where he's at partially because of his last name. Point blank, I'll say it. Because his dad was able to coach him, train him, get him the best possible people to train him. He was basically out of the womb to be a football player.
Pretty much.
And like I said, I'm not knocking it. He had that opportunity. I've never heard him gloat about it, so I'm not going to knock him for it. But there's also the negative nepotism. He comes in with a whole lot more, expected of him because he's a Sanders.
Because he's also going so high in this draft. There's a lot. With minus the name Sanders. If you're going to take him as a first and second quarterback in the NFL draft, there's a lot on your shoulders.
Oh yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Watching your games, there'll be breaking news on ESPN when you pop in your first preseason game. Like that's how this goes, guys. That's how this goes.
Look at all the hype around Cleve Williams. Like,
look at it. Same thing. So much hype is funny. So much hype.
Same thing with when you're talking about Daniels. Like, I mean, granted, there's a lot towards the end because of how well the Commanders played this year, but there's been a lot of hype on him.
Yeah. So if you get the chance late in this draft to get guys that are legitimate prospects at that point, like, let me be very clear: Shedeur Sanders and Will Sheppard are both legitimate 7th round pick prospects. Then why not take the shot? Why not take the shot and go ahead and get a support system like that started for him? So on to Sheppard's stats here: 6'3", 205 pounds. I gotta honest with you guys. I try to find his age everywhere. His age is not found anywhere. It's funny how when you get to the later prospects in the draft, we've had that happen before. They just don't show their age. Now, his first year in college was 2020. So I have to imagine he's about 22 years old, just based on doing the math. So he figured about 18, 19 that year. So he should be about 22 years at that point. Give or take a year either direction there. This past season, 13 games, 48 receptions, 621 yards, 6 touchdowns. That's a lot of touchdowns for somebody who only had 621 yards. And he was one of the red zone targets that Sanders depended on at Colorado. Spent 4 seasons prior to his year at Colorado at Vanderbilt as well. So he's been a well-seasoned player there. Draft Network said overall Sheppard is a talented and savvy wide receiver who projects as a wide receiver 3 with potential wide receiver 2 upside. He will improve NFL's offense red zone efficiency with his contested catch ability. Now, I'll say this: Draft Network is high on crack. I don't think there's any way in hell he's a potential 2. I think his ceiling is a 3 or a 4. I think that's a ceiling. Again, 7th round pick. I got to keep it real. I got to keep it realistic. Here's what he does do very well. He's got some shiftiness to him. So he can get a little open because of that. He lacks top end speed. Like, you have a very short window when he moves at that point to get the ball to him before the other guy's going to catch up to him and realize the mistake. He's a good, as they said, contested catch. He's good in the end zone. But because of the issues with him, with his speed, it's going to cause issues. It's like a 4.6 speed is what they're expecting out of him, guys. That's like a tight end speed. But it's a tight end with a 205-pound body. That's not good. So either he's got to put some weight on and actually play tight end, which might put him to a 4.8, or he's going to have to go ahead and just understand this is my, I'm doing the quick routes that depend on me making a one move and getting a little bit of separation because of that one move. Or I'm an end zone specialist kind of guy, or I'm somebody who helps out on special teams and they pop in once in a blue moon. Neither one is a bad role for a 7th round pick. If you tell me I'm going to get either one of those with the 7th round, I'm happy.
100%.
I'd love to sit there and tell you every single pick will be a Pro Bowler. Like, that's not realistic. We don't want to be that podcast. The truth of the matter is, if we get a quarterback that's our quarterback overall with the first pick, we get 2 more guys with their 2nd and 3rd round that help shore up the offensive line and set us up for success, not just this year, but going forward. We help shore up the defensive line, get a nice, decent backup edge rusher, get a guy to add to the group of running backs, and you get a couple of guys that might help out, might not pan out, but they're 7th round picks. We don't know, but they're going to at least provide support for a brand new quarterback, and hopefully they'll provide something otherwise. Maybe we're biased, but I think it's a slam dunk draft right there.
I think there's some good drafting going on right there. Yeah.
I'm just saying, Joe Shane, call me up. I'm available. I could do no worse than you did in 22 and 23. Just saying.
That's yeah. It's not saying much though. It's really not saying much.
You can throw shit at a dartboard and do better than he did those years. Just saying.
Let's go.
Josh Azudu. Oh my gosh.
It's your 2nd round draft pick.
If you like that clip, then you will love the full episodes too. Find us on your favorite podcast app and look for us on all your favorite social media platforms.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.